One game, one day, one night at home, and it's tonight. That's what's next. Plus one big, huge snollygoster on tip off. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. Boom, 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 boom. One win, baby. Boom, 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 boom. There's nothing else to be said today. Boom, 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 boom. Go Jazz. Here we go. Here we go. Can 8:30 get here soon enough? I know some of you are not coffee drinkers, but you're going to need a lot of Diet Coke then today. Because you're going to have to stay awake. There's no falling asleep in the fourth quarter on the couch tonight for this one. How are you? Oh, part of me just thinks this is the coolest thing that we're even here. And then part of me thinks I'm just going to die if we lose. And then the other side, I will tell you, just being around this club yesterday, is I have, not that you guys didn't know this already, I officially care way too much. I got this from my mom. My mom's a little nutty, but on this one, but she internalizes other people's emotions more than any human being I've ever met in my entire life. Like if you break a leg, she'll feel more pain than you will. Or something happens to you, friend gets divorced, and I swear she's the one who goes, spiraling. Like I felt that way yesterday at practice. Like the idea for Al Jefferson to make the playoffs. The idea for Paul Millsap to be the lead power forward on a team that makes the playoffs after all of those doubts. The fact that Devin Harris, kind of thrown to the wayside on his career, could suddenly get hot in the month of April and carry it through. That the kid Gordon Hayward, who last year sat on the end of the bench next to me and said, "This sucks. We don't play any defense. What the is going on?" And I said, "This will be your team one day. Just remember this." I've told this story a lot. It's not quite his team yet, but this is another night for him to, along with these veterans, carry the load. For Derek Favors, the doubted one from the day he got drafted, hearing about Carmelo not being worked with in New Jersey because, well, they have other plans for him. For him to Jamal Tinsley to come off the scrap heap, and he's going to play a vital role tonight. Maybe even Josh Howard comes back in the lineup. Forgotten guys of the NBA to be able to make key plays. DeMarre Carroll's going to be in the starting lineup tonight, a guy who was drafted by Memphis, traded, and then basically put out by Denver. Well, we like you, but we found three other guys we like better. It's a collection of guys, each with their own story, who very easily could have taken an individualistic route of I'm here to prove myself, and instead, behind largely the leadership of one that's not here right now, one Earl Watson, came together as a unit and somewhere along the way discovered they were just good enough to win just enough games. And that they're not a team that's ever going to blow anyone out. They're not a team that ever is going to be able to out-talent you and run away from you. But if we make 5 to 8 extra hustle plays a night, if we grit out a few extra rebounds and grab a few more on the offensive glass, we'll end up with probably the same amount of points as you in regulation and try to beat you in overtime. I mean, right? But how great would this be for these guys? For the franchise as a whole, put this in perspective for a second. Last February, we come out of the All-Star break, we are spiraling in the wrong direction. I'm not sure if the fans of the team who were still on a high from that great November run of Millsap and the early season really remember how truly disastrous things had become. But, starting in late December, with back-to-back losses to Portland, we had pretty well been exposed and were spiraling in the wrong direction. Stunningly, with a Hall of Fame coach and a Hall of Fame point guard. And all of a sudden, the Jazz, if you recall, by the way, we were 21-9, and by the by the end of January, we were 27-19. We suddenly had lost five in a row in there. With losses at Washington and at New Jersey, we had that disastrous road trip. Things weren't getting any better. And we had lost four in a row coming into the break. And we're 31-26. And we weren't going to make the playoffs a year ago. For this team, a year later, without Darren Williams, without the All-Star, without the Hall of Fame head coach, with a first-year head coach who's been himself bypassed numerous times along the way, for this team to go get it done tonight, to walk into the playoffs, it's not a championship, but every season's got to have its own story. That's always how I've felt. And this is about as big a step for this group. If things go right, you add a draft pick to it, the guys develop, and maybe there's more to this nucleus than any of us have ever believed. But tonight's a huge night for them to make that building step and see where they are and get the experience of playing the Spurs and getting your ass completely handed to you in the playoffs. Yeah. Okay. No, seriously, this is great. All right, so let's get into it. A little late with the tip-off because the game sheet had to be made today already. And if I don't know if you can read the top. One game, one win, in. That's all that matters. I will publish everything today. I'm doing a buttload of work. I'm hosting a vocal at noon. I will put the game notes up on the web today, which I did early in the year. Nobody seemed to give a crap, so I didn't do it, but maybe today people will. I'll put the game sheet up for you. I'll have everything up and ready for you. It's funny, as a play-by-play announcer, your instinct is to prep this thing to the nth of the world and have no scenario where you don't know who's been there before, what's happened. And yet I would tell you the other angle, probably what I should do today, is I should go on like a 60-mile bike ride and then play 9 holes of golf and just call the game. Because all you care about tonight is the score. You don't care about any other side things of how this is taking place and what's going on and what's going to happen and what the trend. There's one thing that matters tonight, and that's a Jazz win. All right, let's talk about this matchup. Let's get down and dirty. Tim Kempton and I did a podcast last night for you, and that's available for you on the web. It's actually pretty long, but it's all about this matchup, so stop listening to this and go listen to that. The first thing that I'm most curious about before we get into the X's and O's of this game is the mental approach. I'm so very curious to where our guys are going to be. Al Jefferson, who wins Player of the Week, to me, still has seemed for about a month a little tight. Like, this matters, and he cares passionately. And this is going to be the biggest moment of his career if he can win this game. And he has not played well against Phoenix, and we need him to play well. So that suddenly becomes a very vital matchup against Gortat, both offensively and defensively. How the Jazz might be able to use favors to help out on Gortat, who is their leading scorer and leading rebounder, is big. But that's X's and O's. I just wonder who our guys are going to be. Are they tight? Are they energized? Are they playing loosey-goosey? The leadership in this locker room isn't as present because Earl's not here. Devin's not a vocal leader. He's just playing great. And I think, Al and Paul are those quiet guys, but these are big moments for them. So where are they? How does Gordon Hayward react to this? He's played big moments, bigger moments, frankly, in the NCAA final game. But this is the NBA. This is the biggest moment they have right now. And then on the other side, where's Phoenix? Tim Kempton talks in the podcast a lot about they realize this could be the last run with Nash. So do they feel an extra burden? Or are they just loose as can be because they weren't supposed to be here? They have the veteran leader. Nash and Harris are the two most experienced guys, and they're going to be at the helm in this one. That makes this very interesting. Now, statistically, everybody will want to tell you, well, Phoenix is all offense and the Jazz are physical. These teams are the same. In fact, they're the exact same. The offensive efficiency ranking of both of these teams is 103.8. They do it very differently. The Spurs are gonna shoot some threes, and the Jazz are gonna make up for the fact that they don't shoot threes by offensive rebounding and not committing turnovers. The two teams shoot the exact same percentage. The Spurs are a middle-of-the-pack three-point shooting team. They just shoot a lot. The Suns are a middle-of-the-pack three-point shooting team. They just shoot a lot of them. Nash is at 40%. Dudley's at 30, 39. But they really aren't a great three-point shooting team. They're at 34.5%. And so what happens to them in the fourth quarter of a game in altitude when it matters? That's a tougher shot all of a sudden. Do they bury those threes or do they rim a little bit when it matters that much? Uh, the two teams are really they're equal level offensively, but they come at a different approach. The Spurs are shooting the three. They're shooting very few free throws. They're not offensive rebounding. They rank 22nd in the NBA in offensive rebounding. We're coming from the other approach. We're not shooting threes. We're getting to the free throw line. We're pounding you. We're going to get you on the offensive glass with Derek Favors, and that's a huge part of this game is going to be the Jazz are the second best offensive rebounding team, and the Suns are the 24th defensive rebounding team. For every three the Suns make, they're going to make more threes than we do. That's what they do. We don't do that. Where are we getting it? Are we committing one less turnover? Are we grabbing two or three more offensive rebounds? Are we stealing possessions some other way? That's what we have to do tonight. Neither team is particularly good defensively. They rank 21st. We rank 23rd. In fact, they were defensively a better team as of late. They've really begun to struggle a little bit defensively recently. Over their last 10 games, Phoenix is just kind of playing every other. They're 5-5. They haven't clicked in. We're 6-4 in that same stretch. And if you dig into the numbers a little bit in that regard, these two teams again come out very, very similar. In the last 10 games, the Suns are the fourth best offensive team in the game, and the Jazz are the fifth best offensive team in the game. These two teams have turned it on offensively. Spurs are getting 115.4 points per 100 possessions. We're at 114. And then you flip it defensively. They have actually fallen apart. We may have to beat – if we can play any of that Favors big lineup, which we played none of last time we played these guys – and get any defensive presence for a while, that might be the game. The Suns are the sixth worst defensive team in the NBA over the last 10 games, and the teams that are worse than them are the Kings, the Cavaliers, the Blazers, the Bobcats, and the Warriors. I mean, teams that really aren't putting it out there anymore. Worth noting, by the way, the Lakers are also that bad defensively, which should be disconcerting to a team that's built their entire team on defense all year, but also might show you Kobe's got some defensive value still despite the age. So keep an eye on that. The Suns defense. Another interesting note when you look at these teams over the last 10 games, and as I told you, I'm going to over-prep the hell out of this thing, is the defensive rebounding of the Utah Jazz. This is why we're improving a good deal. We are the rebounding overall. We're the third best offensive rebounding team in the last 10 games. We're the second best all year long, but on the defensive glass, where at one point this year it was really a problem for us, over the last 10 games, we are the number one defensive rebounding team in the NBA, and the Suns are 26th. Who controls their defensive glass? Very well, me should alter this game, change this game a little bit. We're going to the free throw line 4 more times per game than they are. The Suns are doing one thing interesting. They're not putting people on the line, and we've been putting the people on the line a lot less than we have been before. So that the big thing again is that possession count, threes versus those, and then rebounding. So we got to pound on the glass in so many different ways tonight. All right, fired up. High pick and roll, dealing with Nash. I got a bunch of stuff coming your way. We'll try to break some stuff down for you. We'll look at some of the pick and roll defense we did against Jameer Nelson, possibly do a film study. Just keep clicking on Locked On Jazz. 2 other notes for you before we leave. 1, NBA most viewed regular season ever. That's because we started in December. This league needs to start December 1st. I believe it passionately. Frankly, if we need to push into May 15th to start the playoffs in May, I don't feel like any of us are sitting here right now in April a little later than usual saying, "Oh, I'm not interested in basketball." The weather's you're still there. That November start against college football in the NFL is a bad thing for the NBA. We need to push this season back and be at about regularly probably game 65 right now with 15 to go to finish in May is my thought on what this league needs to do. We can talk more about that. And then the final one, I do want to take a second and talk about John L. Smith at Weber State. Uh, Kind of a bummer to talk about that. So I really feel terribly for Jerry Bovee, the athletic director at Weber State. He got confronted with an opportunity to bring in a coach who passionately pleaded to him. I know this for a fact about his alma mater and how much it mattered, and this was the perfect place, and he wanted to retire in Ogden and bring his wife here, and excuse me, and really sold him a terrible bag of goods. And the only thing I can say is when you have a liar and a self indulgent individual in your staff, because it's undeniable John L. only cares about John L., is the best thing that could have ever happened to Weber State's athletic program is that he left for this money grab. Because if this is who he is, if everything he said to Jerry Bovee and his plea to get back into head coaching was a crock of crap, then the best thing that could ever happen to Weber State is that they got his cancerous ass out of there as fast as possible. And let me explain why. Because at a place like Weber State where the budgets are small and people are grinding and people are working harder there than other places because they don't have any of the luxuries, any of the advantages, or any other things, you need to have, one, a camaraderie on your staff. Two, your football coach needs to be somebody inside that program who leads the others, does not act superior to. You need everybody on the same page, not bitching, complaining, and whining that they don't have the dollar for this or the that or the excuse. And it is very clear to me, after watching John L. Smith, very disappointing to me as well, to watch John L. Smith go through this, to see that he was singly and absolutely interested in himself, only himself, nothing about Weber State, and to have him as the lead dog of that program with no concern of anybody but other than himself would have been disastrous for Jerry Bovee and Weber State as they try to build this up. The Randy Rays of the world who dig in, try to win, support the program, do their coaching searches to Colorado State as you expect them to, but don't do it in any way a disrespectful manner. Those are the guys you need leading the program, and Jerry Bovee's got to go find a new one of those. But this man would have tanked that place. And the greatest thing that happened to Weber State is that he got his self-righteous, snollygoster-esque personality out of there into Arkansas. And you can all talk about, I read Scotty G's tweet, that's right for us to be self-righteous. Wrong. It is okay for us to be self-righteous because there is a time and place for appropriate behavior. When you've made a commitment to someone, regardless of the money that's on the table somewhere else, and you have done nothing to fulfill that, there is a time that is right and there is a time that is wrong. And you know in your heart of hearts what is right and what is wrong. And when you decide that you don't care about that, we know who you are. Have a good day. Go Jazz. Let's rock and roll tonight, baby. Let's do it. Big win. High fives afterwards around 11:30 tonight. See ya. Bye.